Taz, it's so lovely to see you.
Hi, Shauna. Thanks for having me back yet again.
Yeah, I know. And you've been away on holiday and I'm so jealous. I've been looking at your X account and I've got to tell everybody it's actually quite hilarious
I know.
because
I know what you're going to say. I know.
because Taz turned up for her holiday with her lovely husband a day early. Now go on, tell us the story.
Oh, it had to be one of the most earliest flights I've ever caught in my life. We had to get a taxi at 3 a.m. We were at the airport for 3:30, 3:45 a.m. And we queued and everything's self-check-in now. So we're scanning the boarding pass and these machines, because they've got rid of humans, they always break in. I kept tapping it. It wasn't working. So in the end, there was a massive queue. I called the security guy over. He tried, he logged in, cut a long story short. He then looked at the boarding pass, looked at me, looked at my husband, and then tapped his watch and then proceeded to explain that we were there on the 18th, but the flight was on the 19th. So we were 24 hours early. Problem was, we couldn't just go home because we had someone staying in our house to take care of the house while we were away. So we then had to try and find a hotel in the airport. And because it was after 4 a.m., you can't check into hotels until 11 a.m. So we had to sit in the lobby and walking around the airport trying to find things to do until 11 o'clock. And we were so tired. Then we had to do it all again the next day. But it does get better because even despite the fact we slept in the airport, we managed to be late for our flight and had to run for the gate somehow. We got there 9 minutes before the gate shut. I don't know what happened, but yes. Great start to the holiday, Shauna. Thank you.
I'm really glad that you and I don't go on holiday together because I have a track record that is really similar and I imagine that we would be hopeless. I don't
Chaos.
think we'd catch any flight. I think we'd be lost. I think we'd lose our hotel. Yes. No, I'm not good at all that. You need to assign someone, don't you? I'm surprised. You said on your X account that you didn't argue with your husband at that point. I cannot believe that. How can you two be so chill with each other that you didn't blame each other at that point?
Well, we've never done anything like this. I generally book the flights. He prints off all the paperwork. My husband's very, very anal when we go on holiday. He's normally got a little folder with the slippery fish. He's got everything in there. And I'm like, you don't need it. We've got our phones. So the fact was that we'd had this holiday booked for about 3 months. And neither of us, we just basically one day both decided that we were flying on Tuesday. And
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we didn't even the apartment printout. It was all for the 19th because we at first were like, oh, great, we've lost a whole day in the apartment. But no, neither of us checked. So by the time we actually sat in the pub after I embarrassingly walked away from the security guard, we sat down. I had a glass of wine at, 6 a.m. He had a pint at 6 a.m. We both just sat there and laughed as well. Guess it's the first day of the holiday. Yay!
That's probably why you were late for your flight the next day. We had a bit hungover, were we?
No. Very tired.
You were behaved. Well, it looked like a fabulous holiday and you do look relaxed and refreshed, so that's good. Yeah.
I've got my zen back. Ready for all of the royal dramas.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, today I was going to talk to you a little bit about the Beckham book that Tom Bower has recently released, and I thought it would be fun. I picked out a few little quotes from the book that I thought were really exciting and juicy, and I thought that we could maybe discuss them. But before we get into that, I wanted to pick your book brain and find out what you're currently reading. What are you reading at the moment?
Oh, okay. I am reading a series by Sarah J. Maas or Mars. I don't know how you pronounce her surname, but it's complete fantasy. I'm currently on book number 4 or 5. It's The Court of Silver Flames, I think, off the top of my head. And it's as I said, it's fantasy. It's all to do with the Fae world. It all starts off with a young girl called Feyre, who her family, they're humans and they've fallen on hard times. And she goes out hunting to make sure her family don't starve. And she ends up killing a wolf who turns out to be a soldier for this Fae lord. And she gets basically all sucked into the Fae world. And it's, as I said, it's fantasy. It's pure escapism. it's pure escapism. And I do love the occasional books where they're autobiographies and stuff. And I do like, I don't like reading sad books and historical books that make me want to cry tragedies and things. But occasionally you just want to get off of planet Earth and just get immersed in something. And I really do enjoy it. It helps me sleep at night. Someone recommended listening to a book or reading a book before you go to sleep, because I was so used to being on my phone and watching TV, and I really am struggling with staying asleep and falling asleep. And it's massively helped. But the problem is now, sometimes when I'm listening to it, I have to rewind the next day because I've fallen asleep.
You can't tell how much you've missed. I know. But it is a lot more relaxing, isn't it? Because if you go on your phone or anything, you just get all worked up and tense, and it's horrible. Yeah. And particularly also if you read a book before you go to bed. I mean, I only get through 3 pages before I'm,
Yeah.
But it slows your brain down. It's a wonderful thing, guys. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You should try it if you're not reading books. But that sounds interesting, and it's really interesting to me because I haven't read a fiction book. I've only read non-fiction for years. I haven't read a fiction book or a fantasy book since probably Harry Potter.
Oh, wow.
So that's really bad. I need to do it because I think a bit of escapism would be wonderful. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to do it. I'll start on that series. It's
nice to mix it up. It is nice to mix it up. As I said, I do love everything. The books I was reading before, I was reading Jane Austen. I do have a real mixture of stuff. Before that, I was on a vampire series. I've read True Blood, and then I read a series of autobiographies or thrillers or serial killers and stuff. So yeah, it is. It is good
really?
To mix it up.
Oh, you're into a bit of true crime.
Oh, I do. I am one of those people. My husband, even with TV programs, he can sit there sometimes and he's like, how can you watch this? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm just popcorn.
Detective Taz. Oh,
yeah,
that's
maybe.
Great. Yeah. And I was going to ask you, what was your favourite book from childhood? Can you remember what it was?
Absolutely, without even a second to think about it, Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. It was one of the one of my
Go
first
after
books.
my own heart. Yeah.
It was one of my first books I ever read, and I've got such fond memories of it because I used to go stay at my grandma's house, and my grandmother had this great big solid wooden wardrobe, and she used to have like this, it was fake fur, but it looked like a fur coat. And I used to, honestly, as a little girl, I used to climb inside it and stuff and pretend that I was going through Narnia. So yeah, I just remember that.
Beautiful. I was introduced to that book by my grade 5 teacher, and if we were really good, she used to let us put our heads on our desks at the end of the day and she'd read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Oh, wonderful.
And
let your brain...
and that was I fell in love with it.
Magic.
And I it was magic. And my other favourite was, you're probably too young for this one, Folk of the Faraway Tree. Did you ever read Folk of the Faraway Tree?
Not heard of that one.
Enid Blyton and the Millie Molly Mandy series. I used to love all the Millie Molly Mandy books and everything. Yeah. Oh, that's really good. All right. Now we need to get into this juicy stuff, this David Beckham book.
I want to buy the book. So.
All right. Now there's a few little things that I didn't know. So I'll read you the first quote and then we'll discuss. Okay. So this is about Victoria Beckham. It's about the night before Harry and Meghan's wedding. Now they weren't with Harry and Meghan. They had their own sort of pre-wedding things on. But Victoria and David went to Soho House to a party the night before.
Okay.
And this is the quote. Victoria's sour expression also reflected her anger about David's behaviour at the Soho House party the previous night. He'd been buying drinks for a brunette while Victoria sat silently thunderous nearby.
Yeah, it'd take a brave man to be doing that in front of his wife. I'm not sure on that one.
I know. That sounds to me like Soho House gossip, do you think?
I think that's Soho House gossip. And also, I can't imagine, I don't know, they pay such a high membership. Are drinks not almost included with the membership being there? Is it not like a free bar or something?
Well, it is. I think you just paid, and you just go and get what you want.
David Beckham on a night out with some lads and buying a brunette drink, believable. David Beckham in front of his wife in Soho House, buying drinks for
Yes.
Brunette. I'm salacious gossip, maybe.
I'm thinking that. And you know, the crazy thing is that no one is buying this book. I'm not talking about sales. I mean, buying it as in believing it.
Oh,
Because
really?
everyone that I've chatted to about it, and I've, told them a little bit about what I've read, they all immediately defend Victoria and David Beckham, including myself.
Yeah,
So
they're likable.
yeah, they're likable. And you know what I think it is? I think it's because regardless of what troubles they have, may or may not have, we just like them because they're real and they don't pretend to be something they're not.
No, that's very true. That's very true. And they have been hit with a lot of scandals over the years. Obviously the awful thing with Rebecca Lewis and stuff. And they have decided, and people were very mean saying, oh, it's just because of their brand. But it's quite clearly obvious that they love each other. They have a very close family unit. They have weathered many, many storms. And they are actually really adorable to watch together. That David Beckham Netflix series was fantastic. And I think that was a real tide turner for a lot of people. People really like them because whilst some people can be fake on camera, as we know, no names mentioned, and they can pose for photographs and they can act the perfect way for a few moments, it was really candid, a lot of that footage, and you could see that the way that they naturally interact with each other. So,
I was interested to read that David Beckham had full editorial control of that documentary. But the interesting thing is that H&M, even though they had full editorial control of theirs, it just didn't come over. So, you could argue that, well, look, it's to enhance brands. It's, you intended to come out of it looking really positive. But David and Victoria did. That's the difference. They came out of it with everyone liking them.
Oh, yeah.
And Harry and Meghan came out of it with everyone hating them more.
Well, just say,
in my personal opinion.
Well, of course, everything's always in our personal opinion. But I will say with them having full editorial rights over the Netflix documentary, I'm not sure that's true because before it got aired, Meghan had made a statement complaining and making a swipe at the second director, bearing in mind, Liz Garbus took over because the first director of the Netflix docuseries quit due to Harry and Meghan, I'd imagine, just being a pain in the rear side. But Meghan had made a point to say that the story hasn't been told in the way that we would have told it. And this was before it aired, so it was clearly obvious that they maybe did not have full control, or maybe they'd realised the amount of backlash that they were getting and the Queen had died. They tried to go, shit, we need to backpedal here. We need to pull this stuff out. We've got to get rid of it. And Netflix went, no, this is gold. You're going to earn your keep. So maybe.
Yeah, well, I think that's just her classic sort of MO where she hits and runs.
Oh, she covers her ass.
She never fronts up and accepts responsibility. No. Yeah, she always hides. Okay, the second quote, here we go.
Yeah,
now, this is you actually educated about me last video about Beckham in Australia and the Invictus Games and all that. I didn't know any of that. Okay, so because of you, I already knew about this, but I've been thinking about it and I've got something I'm going to run by you, but I'll read the quote for everyone that doesn't know. During their conversation, no, I've got to backtrack. Now, I found out from this book when David Beckham was asked to join him in Australia. And, at their wedding, they weren't invited to the evening dinner. They were only invited to the church and the afternoon reception in the garden, right? Well, it was during a conversation with Prince Harry at that reception that he asked Beckham to actually go to Australia. And I'm thinking, is that because he felt really guilty about the fact that he didn't, Meghan wouldn't let him invite them to the nighttime reception? Do you think that, this is embarrassing. Here I am face to face with David, who was his friend before he met Meghan. And so he said, mate, do you want to come to Invictus Games in Australia? I'd really appreciate it. So it's just like makeup thing?
A buffer. Sorry, that whole thing, just remembering the number of people that Harry did that to, lifelong friends, childhood friends, people that were genuinely in his life for a number of years. And then he did that to, and just basically said, you're not coming to the evening party, showed that Meghan had, I don't know how polite I could be about this, but she had his balls in her handbag at that point already. But for him to be so cowardly, but yes, I probably do agree that David and Victoria, their noses would have been definitely out of joint, that they were uninvited to the second half of the wedding. I mean, who does that? So it would make sense if that's when Harry asked him, to turn around and say,
according to the book it was. And evidently David Beckham was talking to it was the then Prince Charles then, and then spoke to Harry. So maybe, Harry had been told to repair that relationship. But the quote is, during the conversation, the Prince asked Beckham to join him in October in Sydney for the Invictus Games competition for injured servicemen. He instantly agreed. So then we know what happened, that he was ignored and everything. Now, I've got a theory about it. I'll read you the quote about he's in Sydney, everybody. He's at the Invictus Games. Taz told us last video that he was completely ignored. Harry wouldn't go near him. And Tom Bauer actually verifies that. Beckham was unaware that the Prince had ordered him that under no circumstances was the footballer to be allowed near him. Photographs of the two together were completely forbidden. The royal snub was brutal. Okay, now I've got a theory. My theory is that Meghan didn't want him to get photographed next to Prince Harry because everyone would compare the handsome David Beckham with the not so handsome. I think her ego and narcissism extends to the fact that she's like, oh, why didn't I get the good-looking one?
Shallow. I mean, who knows, really? There could be definitely some truth to that, definitely. But my gut feeling is David would then make more publicity for Harry. Meghan wanted the publicity all about her. She didn't want the limelight on Harry. She didn't want the limelight on David. She certainly didn't want the limelight on Victoria. That's why she announced her pregnancy when she was mere weeks. She wasn't even shown. As much as she popped her back out looking like that she was going to snap her back in half, making her stomach stick out, and she was clutching a non-existent bump. Let's be honest, most of us can have a steak and chip dinner and have a bigger pot belly than that.
Exactly.
And I think that's why she didn't want any coverage on anyone other than her. She didn't want anyone near Harry other than herself. This was her moment. This was her tour in Australia. That's what I think.
Oh, yes. You're brilliant. I never even thought of that. Yes,
I just
that would
watched
be.
it. I just remember watching it all.
That's so funny when you said that she was really snapping her back, trying to look
She was in this blue gown.
She did sort of walk like that in Australia.
Holding, and I'm sorry, but you can have gas bigger than that. It was nothing. And some people defended her saying, oh, it's just because she knows that she's pregnant and it's a subconscious thing, you don't realise that you're doing it. She knew what she was doing. But
that's
the whole craziness.
And when she walked down the steps from the plane, when they got to Australia, she held the clipboard in front of her stomach. Yes,
Yeah. Anyone would think that she was about 6 to 8 months pregnant on that trip, honestly. It was bizarre. But I think that's possibly, in my opinion, I think it's more to do with she wanted all of the attention on her, hence the pregnancy announcement, which she didn't need to do. And I think that's more of it. And she certainly didn't want Victoria being pictured anywhere near Prince Harry.
Yeah, I think that's why the book is so disappointing, because everybody was looking for almost an update on
Gossip.
revenge.
We want something new.
Yes, and no one cares about David and Victoria. We all like them, so just get on to the Harry and Meghan part. And so many people would have bought the book just for that, and I guess it would have been pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice to have certain stories confirmed, because you know that Tom Bauer does do his research. So he, as far as he's concerned, he's not going to get sued over it. So it is a way of confirming that what we all saw or theorized at the time is actually accurate. But it is still shocking behavior to treat your friends in the way that Harry did just because his wife didn't like them. But I cannot fathom the number of people that Meghan didn't like in Harry's life, and he couldn't see that perhaps, just maybe, she might be the issue. But hey ho. Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about the stories coming out about the fact that there might be a clash between Harry and Meghan coming to Australia when King Charles and Queen Camilla come to Australia for their trip? Have you heard about
Harry
that?
and Meghan are coming to Australia?
Well, the rumour is yes. And that there's supposedly some sort of conflict. At first, I thought it was just PR puff and I dismissed it, but it keeps sort of gaining momentum, particularly in the Australian press.
I've not read this, you see, obviously being on holiday and stuff. I've not seen that.
Oh, yeah, but there's just constant snippets about the fact that they're planning a trip to Oz and that King Charles actually is concerned because they're scared. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine if they turn up at the same time?
I believe that Harry and Meghan would definitely do a stunt like that, but I think the turnout for people for Harry and Meghan in comparison to the King and the Queen, complete polar opposites. So, I mean,
I can't get my finger on the pulse of the mood here. I can't tell. I can't tell whether they would be popular or not. I know certainly. I don't think they would be. I think, because Aussies are fairly sort of cut and dry about things. They seem to be able to look through, if someone's trying to.
Half of my family are in Adelaide, and when I was out there, I think 4 years ago now, when I was out there, I was asking about it then because I just really started doing the YouTube and stuff. Nobody has a nice word to say about Harry and Meghan, especially after the whole Oprah. I mean, I honestly don't know anyone really off of social media that says anything nice about them. So I really can't. And especially if they do time it to pull a stunt like that, it's going to obviously cause negative backlash on them. They will play victim naturally, but it's like, why would you even try and clash with your father's estate visit? But I don't know. As I said, I've not read the story personally myself. Do I think it's something that Harry and Meghan would do to get attention? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
but possibly. What do you want me to do if they do come to Australia? What do you want me to do? I'll follow your orders.
I certainly don't give out orders to anyone. But, I might. I don't know. I say I might. I might even struggle to even talk about them while they're out there, if the King and Queen are out there. I think it's time that when they are deliberately clashing with the royal family to just completely ignore them. I think the newspapers, I have seen a shift with the UK newspapers. Whilst they love to cover anything to do with Harry and Meghan, I have noticed when there are big royal events on and Harry and Meghan are deliberately trying to get attention. There was Meghan apparently being filmed in a park the other day, videoed in a tracksuit, and it just didn't make it. People are not picking up the silly little PR stunts that they do, the silly pap strolls anymore. I think people are just thoroughly tired.
All the puff has gone out of it, hasn't it? It really has. No one's interested at all. So I think this might genuinely be the end of everything. Have you heard rumours about something big happening in July?
Oh, if this is the Pat Tillman Awards, do not get me started on this one. I have just finished filming.
But we can talk about those. But no, it was supposedly something else happening in July. So it's swirling around YouTube at the moment. So
really,
a lot of channels are saying it, and I'm out of the loop.
You fill me in. What's apparently happening in July?
Something huge. The word is something huge is happening in July. I have no idea what it is. Mind you, we've heard all this before, so I don't know.
Yeah, but we get that every month. We get something big happening. I mean, the fact that it was only a few days ago we found out that Harry has been destroying and hiding evidence in his own court case. That's very, very big. But of course, because of people's outrage over the Pat Tillman Award, it's somewhat being suppressed a little bit. But this will come back up because the court case is in January. This is huge. Harry is deliberately hiding evidence, destroying evidence, according to the accusations by the NGN lawyers, in his own court case. I mean, this is pretty big. This is bad.
And now they're imagine. Can you imagine, sorry to interrupt, but can you imagine how a normal person would suffer if they destroyed evidence? I mean, I have a feeling that the repercussions would be a little greater maybe than what Harry, but maybe if he doesn't come up, I mean, he's been given time to answer, rectify the situation. So I guess...
The Justice Fancourt did say, we don't know that he's destroyed the evidence, but he wants to know exactly why things have been wiped, why he no longer has access to things that he knew that he would need for this court case. But I find the whole thing bizarre anyway, because apparently, well, not apparently, I mean, I read it, that his lawyers and the judges slapped him down for it. Harry is the one that is obtaining the documentation. They're trusting Prince Harry to gather the information, the emails, all of the documents and everything, to hand to NGN lawyers. As I said in a video yesterday, I wouldn't trust Harry to read me the weather report, let alone obtaining and knowing what documentation to look for to give over as evidence potentially against himself. It's bizarre to me, but then I don't have any sort of legal understanding to it.
And you would think also that his lawyers would have made sure that he had all the documentation going into the court case. I mean, they would think that this would backfire really badly, you would think.
It just looks like that he and his lawyers are hiding something. But as the judge in the most epic slapdown, which had me giggling, the judge turned around and said, the fact most of the time that even you, his legal counsel, don't seem to understand the things that you have been asked for, even though it's been made very clear and obvious, how do you expect your client to know? And I was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is a slap down, isn't it? Yeah, but you can only imagine. You can only imagine what he has said. I mean, it would be huge if it gets out. Yeah, I mean, if he had to produce it. I wonder if he's going to withdraw from the case because of this. I wonder whether it's just too hot.
He's got a lot riding on it already. I think this is the same one that Hugh Grant pulled out of recently and accepted a payout. So I think that Harry has said that he's not accepting a payout. He's going to press ahead, with it. But this evidence, I can't see that it's been deleted. It's not a James Bond movie. Things do not just self-destruct. There is always going to be someone that has got copies of it. You know, the Penguin Publishers, J.R. Mooringer, the ghostwriter on his book, the other people, the other side of the emails that Harry was sending. You know, there's so much stuff. There's always going to be a copy or a version of it obtainable, especially in a high court case.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I just think at the moment they're just bluffing, and the judge quite clearly is letting it known he's had enough. Stop playing games. Get your shit together.
I also wanted to ask you, now that Balmoral has opened up and you can get tickets and you can go to Balmoral, do you think you might go at some point?
Yes, I want to. My mission is, I don't think it's going to be this year. I might try and start it this year. I'm actually going to go to all of the royal palaces because, can you believe it or not, I've never been inside Kensington Palace. I've never been inside Buckingham Palace. I want to go to Balmoral. I want to go on tour, as it were, with all of the royal residences. I'll do a little mini series. I think it'd be great. I just got to find someone to drag with me to do it, because I tell you what else, get on a flight, come over, we'll do it together. It'd be brilliant. Shauna and Taz, royal palaces. Because I
We'd get lost.
Drag my husband.
Oh, it'd be brilliant. I'd love to go to Balmoral. I think Balmoral would be so atmospheric and so brilliant. Yeah. Oh, that's an exciting plan. That's a wonderful plan.
Yeah.
It'd be a great YouTube series. Everyone will watch it, won't you? Everyone will watch it. They're all nodding.
Please.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll have to read up all about it and do the great Taz research. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Windsor, I have been into Windsor. Now, that was amazing. And that is something, the tour was brilliant. And my husband loved it as well. So maybe I might be able to convince him to go into the other palaces, because, there's another one that he's going to do where you can camp inside the palace grounds. And I can't think where it is.
I think it's Sandringham.
Sandringham, maybe. I want to do all of this. I want to hit all of the royal residences, take lots of pictures, lots of footage, and do like a series of it. So I'll speak to my friend Amber. She's like my latest partner in crime, and I think she might be up for it. And then
but you don't want to camp. You don't want to camp. You want to look really glamorous. You want to have your Philip Tracy hat on.
Hey, when I go camping, Shauna, I'm a camping princess. You need to know this. Oh, yes. We have 2 massive blow-up beds. I take duvets and pillows. We have proper seats. We have blankets all over the floor. We don't just camp. As my husband says, I basically take a hotel room with me. So I don't camp like a normal person, although I do not do electric, where people take their hair straighteners and stuff. I just let the hair go natural. It's camping. No one cares.
I always get powered campsites.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Got to have the straightener.
Yeah. Wow, let my hair do its own thing.
Oh, the last time I camped was so long ago. No, I'm definitely a hotel girl. Resort girl.
Well, one big difference, Shauna, you live in Australia. Everything wants to kill you in Australia. Oh, look, there's a bee. Oh, wait, it's got fangs and claws and it wants to rip your throat open while you sleep. Oh, look, there's a little butterfly. Oh, yeah, that's deadly. Oh, look, there's something different. That's deadly. Don't let that bite you. Don't let that bite you. No, everything wants to kill you. I wouldn't camp in Australia.
No, not to mention the redback spiders and everything. And not good at all.
Tell you a quick story. When I was over in Australia, it was possibly the time or the time before that, my cousin Gemma, we were just walking up to her house and there was a spider hanging down. She said, you got to watch out for that. It's a whiteback. Just took off her thong, her flip-flop, and just went bash and knocked it into the neighbour's garden. And I was like, the deadly whiteback, and that's what you do. You just smash it. Well, what about your neighbours? She's like, it's dead now. Just casually like that. One of the most deadly. Just took off a flip-flop, whacked it one. I was just like, I'm never moving here. I love you. I'll visit.
No, it is terrifying, and I'm not good with spiders. And everybody, you've got to catch them and gently take them outside these days. So I'm trying to perfect the method, because my method was always to vacuum it up and then put fly spray down the...
Oh, wow. It's dead.
Yes, sort of napalm it. But now I've learned that that's not... Look, I want to talk to you about David Attenborough, because I don't do anything like that now. I gently catch it. Actually, a good way to get it is, those poster holders that you get from the post office when you're posting a poster? Yeah, if you hold that near a spider, it will crawl in. Whereupon you calmly lift it down, put the lid on, take it outside and let it go in the neighbour's next door yard.
I have seen you can get like a spider tube that you can put over them and you gently pull the sucker up and then it puts it in the tube.
Oh, that sounds very fancy. That sounds very fancy.
They're on Amazon, a spider kind of collector.
I might have to get one of those. Yeah. You were about David Attenborough. You posted on X him
lovely.
Arriving at Wimbledon and the reaction. It nearly made me cry. I just love people getting applause. If you haven't seen it, guys, it's just lovely. He actually enters the royal box and David Beckham is there and he stands up, and as David Attenborough makes his way past David Beckham, the crowd goes wild.
Absolutely. It was amazing. It did get me choked up, actually. And he looks incredible for his age. I'm actually going to put that clip into the video my next video.
So tune in to Taz for her next video, because you'll be able to actually see the clip, because it is it beautiful.
Really was a beautiful moment, heartwarming.
Yeah.
Incredible man, incredible life, but he's done so much to educate so many generations and to teach us all about how we can save the planet. And it's not this globalist agenda and stuff. It is genuinely to do with pollution, about how we can help the oceans, the rivers, little things that we can do, even with silly little things, but rewilding. I love it. I can't get enough of David Attenborough. I love all of them.
Well, you're like him in many ways, because you protect and nurture all sorts of little animals. Tell us about what you do. Yeah, tell us what you do with your little hedgehogs.
That was a sad story recently, because one of them died. I found him very sick and I tried to get him to a rescue, but I have hedgehog boxes. My garden, we've rewilded our garden. When we first bought our house, it was a very strict sort of lawn. So what we've done now, the right-hand side of all the fence, we've let all natural wildflowers grow. And most people rip them up because they're weeds. But then when you read about them, you realise that some of these weeds, like take stinging nettles, for example, butterflies lay their eggs on them. So people that are killing all of the stinging nettles, there's nowhere for the butterflies to lay their eggs. And it's so on and so forth with all these different things that we just see as a menace. But then the amount of bugs that we have coming down to these weeds that produce beautiful flowers, it really does make a difference to the garden. And I think it looks much nicer out there. I've got a lot more birds out there. I feed the birds. I think I feed half of the birds in West Sussex, to be honest with you. I've got every type of bird, and it's a very small garden. But I'm planting loads of lavender actually at the moment in my front garden for all the bees, because obviously the bees, they're really struggling actually at the moment, Shauna. I've noticed that we've hardly had any, and it's really worrying. But the weather's so cold here. At the moment, it's really freakish. Today is what, July the 3rd, is it? Or 2nd?
Yeah, July 3rd, yeah.
And it's only about, I'd say probably about 14, 15 degrees outside. We should be 26, 25, 26 degrees. It's really cold. It's only because I'm sitting on the living room floor after running around clearing up after the dog again. But it's your poorly thing. Bloody animals, they're always sick, aren't they?
I'm not laughing at your dog being sick. I laughed at the face. It was brief, but it was really accurate. Yeah. But I love your photos you do of little bumblebees when they've had their fill of nectar and they're sleeping and their big bottoms.
Fluffy bumblebutts.
I just have fallen in love. Oh, gosh, they're just so gorgeous.
Yeah,
you've educated me because I never even knew that. I knew nothing about bees. I didn't know they fell asleep after they had a big meal. And they're so cute.
Did you hear about or did you see the one that I rescued? I found him on the pavement outside the front of the house. This will tell you, some people might laugh at this. He was lying on the path outside, and a big black fluffy white one. And I think I called him Derek in the end. I always name bugs. Anyway, I picked him up and I had him in my hand, and he did like a little leg movement. I thought, maybe he's cold. So I brought him in the house and I sat with him in my house, because bumblebees won't sting you. People are frightened that they will sting you. They don't. And I picked him up and I sat there for about 2 hours holding this bumblebee, because the heat of my hand was warming him up. And I gave him some sugar water. And then when he started moving around a little bit, I then put him out under my broken birdhouse, so I knew the birds couldn't get to it, and I picked loads of flowers that were in bloom, and then he started going around to all the flowers, and then he started drinking from them, and I was fascinated watching him. And then he tried to fly off, but he wasn't strong enough, so I put a few more flowers down for him and just protected him, and then eventually he flew off. So I'd found him on the pavement and then nursed him back to life. That
is so satisfying. You must have felt so great. That's lovely.
My mum's always laughed at me for doing stuff like that. I once sat there for about an hour with two paper clips for unwrapping a bumblebee I'd found stuck in a spider's web. He hadn't bitten him at the time, so he was very lucky. Well, maybe it was the ones that didn't bite, but he was busy wrapping him up. I heard him like, so I got him off the net. And then I sat there painstakingly for an hour, sweat and tears, with two little paper clips as a teenager, and just
wow,
got him out.
That is your calling. That is your calling. Eventually, one day, there's going to be the Taz Animal Hospital. Have you ever thought about doing a YouTube series on these stories? They'd be so popular.
Well, I don't think there'd be enough stories really for it, but you could do things like that, little rescue stories that people have done.
Yes, that'd be wonderful.
But if I won the lottery, I would have a rescue centre, but I don't know if I'd have a bee rescue centre. That could be quite interesting. That would be quite niche, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
Found a bumblebee, bring him to Taz.
I was a strange child because I used to find dead mice or whatever, some small little animal, and I would make a big thing about bringing it home and digging a proper grave for it, burying it and putting little icy pole crosses and flowers on top of the grave. Now that either makes me lovely or it makes me a psychopath.
A psychopath would be someone that probably did that while the mouse was still alive.
It was definitely dead. It had been run over by a car. But I didn't want it. I didn't want it to leave it there.
Oh, I think that's actually a really sweet story. Yeah, no.
I hope so. Everyone watching now is going, oh, my goodness.
They're probably thinking these two are weirdos.
But we know that. We don't mind.
That's why we get along so well, Shauna. It's great.
It is. Yeah. Well, you can rescue the animals, and if they don't make it, I can bury them.
Bury them. Quite the team. Oh, God. Now, that would make an interesting YouTube channel, wouldn't it?
It would. Before we finish, do you go to Wimbledon at all? No.
No.
You're not a tennis girl?
No, not into tennis, I'm afraid. No, the only sport I enjoy watching is boxing. Actually, I sit there and swear like a truck driver. I love it, absolutely love it. I'm screaming and shouting. I'm yeah. So yeah, no, I
You're
like
kidding
boxing.
me. You can watch boxing.
Oh, I love it.
I can't.
Absolutely
I
love it.
watch like this. Can't do
No,
it. Can't do
I
it.
love it. I do love it. Although saying that, I have been watching the few England games, and to be honest with you, I was watching them like you just then going like, oh,
Yeah,
I don't want
yeah,
to watch.
yeah,
Do you want to
yeah.
watch? But
Oh,
yes,
have you ever thought about taking up boxing?
me, no. I don't like being punched in the face, so that would be part of the problem.
Understandable.
I know a good
Yeah.
boxer you're meant to block, but yeah, no. My husband did
Oh.
boxing, but yeah, not for me. I like watching it.
Oh, is that what made you fall in love with him?
I mean, it's something that kind of helped. I was like, oh, really? Oh, that's kind of
That's pretty
Like-
hot. Yeah.
like a
Before
man
we go,
can
I've
throw
got to
down.
ask you one more question because now I'm curious.
Yeah.
How did you meet your husband?
You want a story? I met him on Match.com.
Did you?
Yes, the famous
Wow.
website Match.com. Yes, I had.
So tell us about the first date. What happened?
Well, it was the worst first date I think I'd ever had. I honestly, I had heard from him a few times, and he stood me up the first time, and then he blew me out the second time we'd gone to meet up. He said last minute, he said, I'm really sorry, I can't, I've got to work. And I was just like, oh, there's loads of guys that do this on dating. I just think I can't be asked with this. And then I went out with another guy. That turned into a disaster. And then a couple of months later, he messaged me again, my husband, and he said, did you want to meet up? And at this point, I was like, oh, really, if you do this again, I'm completely done. So we arranged to meet up. Earlier that day, I'd taken my friend's dog, Bubba, for a walk, my best friend, Gemma. And he had a moment where he didn't want to walk across the bridge. So I picked him up and carried him. He's a little Shih Tzu. So anyway, later on, I'm meeting my husband at the pub, and I'm sitting down, and he walks in, and he's gorgeous. So I had one of those like, oh, wow, he's so good looking, and I got really embarrassed. We were sitting in the pub, and then we didn't realise that a rock band was playing that night, and they had started up, so we couldn't hear a word each other were really saying. We just kept shouting at each other, and then the music would stop, and it was really embarrassed. At one point, I looked down at my shirt and I saw this brown stain. Where I'd picked up my friend's Shih Tzu earlier, I was sitting there with dog shit on my shirt, looking at this gorgeous guy. So I then tried to quickly fold over my shirt. I mean, he never saw it. We've spoken about this. He said, no, I didn't notice it or anything. And anyway, he then started saying, I'm really sorry. He said, I've got to leave. So I thought that he was blowing me off. And after him blowing me off so many times, I couldn't hear him. I'd had dog turd on my shirt. I had just broken up with this guy not long beforehand. I said, no, do you know what? Just go. Just go. It's absolutely fine. No. And he's like, I can wait till you get a taxi or something. I was just go, because I felt myself, I was going to cry. I've had enough now. And he left, and I got a large glass of wine from the bar. I rang up my stepdad. I said, come get me. I was in tears, and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm so sick of putting myself out there. This was awful. I rang up my best friend. I said, that's it. I'm moving to an island. I'm becoming a lesbian. That was it. I'm done with men. They're all awful. And got in again. I cried. My mum gave me a hug. And then about half hour later, my husband texted me and said, I had a great time. I really, really enjoyed today. I can't wait to see you again. And my reaction was like, you barely spoke to me. You left early. And he turned around and said to me, the reason why he barely spoken to me is because he was actually really shy, and he was worried that he'd say the wrong thing to me and mess up the date. So that's why he panicked and he'd left.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
So for me, it was the
goodness.
worst first date. And and then he asked me to be his girlfriend about a week later. Very old school.
Oh, I love stories like that. That is so beautiful. And how many years have you been married now?
We celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary in March.
Oh,
So-
that is gorgeous. Oh,
Yeah.
well done.
So I
I'm
will
so glad
say-
you told me that. Yeah,
Oh, well,
that's gorgeous.
Thank you very much for asking. But I will say with Match.com, you are 50% in chance of meeting a psycho, or you are 50% in chance of meeting your future husband. So just don't give up. There are good ones still out there.
Oh, that's a good note to finish on. Thank you, Taz. Thanks for joining
no
me.
worries.
It's been a delight yet again.
Yeah.
See you
too.
next time.
Take care.
Bye.
I will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.